Look closely at this image of goddess Kali. She is dark-skinned, naked, wearing a garland of severed heads, and stepping directly on Lord Shiva's chest. To anyone unfamiliar with Hindu mythology, this looks like a depiction of pure chaos. It is a terrifying, violent scene that shatters our typical expectations of what divine grace and purity are supposed to look like. Yet, across India, this fierce, bloodthirsty entity is revered as the ultimate comforting mother, and she emerged within a deeply patriarchal society. To understand her radical worship, we must look at the historical standard for Indian women. In 19th century colonial Bengal, the societal ideal was the pativrata, the perfectly chaste, self-sacrificing, and deeply obedient wife. This human ideal mirrored the socially acceptable divine feminine. Take this painting of goddess Lakshmi. She stands demurely on a pink lotus, fully clothed, representing wealth, docility, and the quiet harmony of the domestic sphere. Both British imperialists and Indian nationalist reformers actively enforced this mold. A good woman was defined by her silent submission, her fair complexion, and strict confinement to the home. So how did a culture that systematically demanded such rigid, silent compliance simultaneously construct and worship a deity so wildly disobedient as Kali? If we examine the statue of Kali, the first thing that strikes us is her stark, dark skin. In a society burdened by oppressive beauty standards that equate fairness with purity and marriageability, her complexion is an unapologetic rejection of those rules. Then there is her nakedness. She is known as Digambari, meaning clad in space. She wears no clothes because she has transcended worldly attachments and societal shame. It's a literal demonstration that ultimate truth is infinite and cannot be bound by fabric. While other goddesses like Durga carry 10 different objects to manage 10 different realms, Kali's 4 hands remain singularly devoted to the tools of war and the heads of wrongdoers. She embodies an intense, unyielding focus on one mission, the extinction of evil. This creates a divine contrast against the societal pressure for women to be multi-dimensional multitaskers, constantly exhausted by competing domestic and professional demands. Her terrifying aesthetics are highly intentional. They represent a divine refusal to be commodified, heavily scrutinized, or shaped for the male gaze. This autonomy is put into action in her most famous myth. In this artistic rendering, we see the battle against the demon Raktabija. He possessed a terrifying power. Every drop of his blood that touched the earth instantly spawned an identical, fully formed clone. Facing an overwhelming, multiplying threat, Kali emerges from the chaos. She steps directly into the battlefield to take decisive action entirely on her own. She doesn't wait for permission, and she doesn't call for a masculine savior to rescue the gods. Her tactics are brutal, but perfectly calculated. She stretches out her tongue to catch and drink the demon's blood mid-air, eating the clones before they can ever hit the ground. Her victory establishes female autonomy as a vital, stabilizing force, one that becomes essential when the existing order proves incapable of protecting the world. But her bloodlust doesn't end with the demon. Intoxicated by the battle, Kali begins a dance of death so intense it threatens to shatter the universe. To stop her, her husband, Lord Shiva, silently lays down in her path. Look closely at this idol. It captures the exact moment she accidentally steps onto his chest. This pose visualizes core tantric philosophy. Kali represents Shakti, the active, chaotic energy of creation. Shiva represents Purusha, the static, silent consciousness. Uncontrolled, infinite energy destroys its surroundings. To create lasting, functional power, dynamic force must anchor to a stable foundation. Notice the mechanics of Shiva's intervention. The supreme god doesn't try to physically overpower her. He issues no commands. He simply offers a humble surrender. Realizing whose chest she is standing on, Kali instantly bites her tongue in a gesture of profound respect and self-awareness. It's a display of intense mutual respect and the checking of ego, a dynamic of equal partnership that sits in stark contrast to the rigid, domineering power imbalances expected in modern human relationships. Because of this radical display of equality and independence, Elite Orthodox institutions and British colonial officials actively tried to marginalize Kali and the other Mahavijjas. Her worship was systematically pushed out of mainstream, polite society and into esoteric, stigmatized tantric spaces. She was labeled as dangerous, taboo, and forbidden. This backlash stemmed from a deep anxiety. A culture built on the strict control of women's bodies and behavior did not know what to do with an unrestrained, independent female power that absolutely refused to be domesticated. The historical effort to hide her was an effort to suppress the liberating potential she offered to Indian women. It revealed a core fear. A woman who answers to no one threatens the entire structure of a controlled society. Kali stands as a fierce protector, holding her sickle to slice away the human ego and eradicate illusion. Her story teaches that true, lasting power requires a delicate balance. We need fearless, decisive action to combat the evils of the world, but we also need the profound self-awareness to know when to stop. So for anyone feeling confined by the expectations placed upon them, especially women, her image is an invitation to reject restrictive molds, dismiss impossible standards of perfection, and speak fearlessly against injustice. We cannot find true liberation by only expressing the polite, agreeable parts of ourselves. We have to acknowledge, integrate, and embrace our most fiercely independent energies.